I am pleased to be here. I'm a little kind of off kilter because it's a GOP thing. And the last time I spoke at something for conservatives was CPAC, and that didn't go over real well. I think there were a lot of people that were, you know, find your happy place, find your happy place, find your happy place. But it was strange about it was the people who had come, not the organizers, not the people in the front couple of rows, they enjoyed it. The ones in the front of the row, they were giving me so much stink eye, and I think they were trying to get me to shut up. They thought if they give me enough stink eye, so I just want everybody to know, if everybody in here would tape skunks to their face, there's not enough stink eye to make me stop. So here we go. Let me start with this. If the GOP wants to not just win, if the GOP expects to survive, if you embrace John McCain and John Boehner, it will not happen. If you embrace the Mike Lees and the Ted Cruz, you win big time. But I don't want to talk to you about winning, because that's what everybody does, and I think that's the problem with the parties. The parties are set up to win. That's what their job is, win elections. And that's not, I hope, that's not why you're here. You're not here because you want to win an election at all costs. You want the principles moved forward. So what is it? Why are you here? What is it that the GOP stands for anymore? Because I don't think that the GOP knows. And I really see, and there's a few places in the country, and not all of the Reagan or Lincoln dinners in Texas would be like this. This is really kind of the island of misfit toys in the grand GOP, that this is a little misfit, and it's the misfits that are going to conquer the world. It is going to be the misfits that right the ship. And if the misfits don't right the ship, all is lost. And I don't mean just the party. I believe we are looking at the destruction of our country, the destruction of the republic. I moved to Texas because if we lose Texas, we lose the country. No ifs, ands, or buts. You lose Texas, it's over. So what is it? Why are you a Texan? If you moved here, why are you a Texan? I moved here, and I suggest we now close the border for any more. I'm worried about the northern border much more than the southern border. But I just spoke to a bunch of CEOs in Dallas, and many of them had just moved their companies to Texas. And I said, you know why you moved to Texas. Do your employees know? Because you moved to Texas because of what? Lower taxes? The weather? Or you're still free? You are free to be an entrepreneur. You are free to create. You're free to pursue happiness as you see it. That's why I moved to Texas. You can't do that anymore. The rest of the country is losing the main concept, the principles. The principles, and the principles are so easy to see. I brought some artifacts, if you don't mind. This is from Mad Anthony Wayne. He was a general with George Washington, and this is from the Battle of Stony Point. And at the Battle of Stony Point, you see here, he's got a bandage on his head because they shot him in the head. He's mad, I think, because he just kept going. And they're like, I got a bullet in your head, maybe we should sit down. And he's like, we're winning, get me a piece of paper and a pencil. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. And he writes a letter to George Washington. And he writes this letter to George Washington, and this is it, and it says, Dear General, 2 a.m., Stony Point. Dear General, the forts and the garrison with Colonel Johnstone are ours. Your officers and men behaved like men determined to be free. Anthony Wayne. When I first read this letter, I thought to myself, what does that even mean? What does it mean to behave like a man determined to be free? If everybody in the country would ask that one question and answer it every single day, am I behaving like a man determined to be free? The country would change overnight. So what was that? Let me show you some examples. Let's start with Marcus. Marcus Luttrell is a good friend of mine. Marcus, if you haven't seen the movie Lone Survivor, if you're not a fan of the F word, you might have some problems with it. I don't go to see rated R movies, but because Marcus is a good friend of mine, I went to see that with him. There's nothing like watching it sitting next to him. But it is one of the most miraculous stories I've ever seen, and one that is filled with honor, because Marcus wanted to make sure that everyone looked the way they really were in real life. If there's anybody that looks bad in the movie, it's Marcus. He took all the blame for anything. I mean, he looks sloppy. He looks like he was responsible. And maybe he was. But nobody knows that except Marcus, because he was the only one out. And he took all the blame. And you don't really see one of the things that Marcus did. These are the pants that he wore. And if you can see, not in good shape. But these were the pants that he wore that day. He couldn't walk. He couldn't do anything lower than his arms. And at one point, and this isn't in the movie, at one point, he was laying face down. This was his vest that he was wearing. You notice he doesn't have the American flag on. It's a Texas flag. But he was wearing this as he hit the ground and couldn't move. And so he drug himself to a stick and drew a line in the sand, as any good Texan would. And he said to himself, I'm going to drag my feet over that line. And when my feet get over that line, I'll draw a new line. I'm getting out of here. He did that for 8 miles. A man determined to be free. Marcus says, never quit. Let me show you somebody else. This is from Sam Brown. Sam is running for the Texas State House. I'm not going to lift it. It's extraordinarily heavy because it's his armor. But as you see, it's burned. He was in the back of a Humvee when he hit an explosive device, and he was sitting on the diesel fuel tanks. And the diesel fuel covered him from head to toe, and he couldn't put himself out. He tried everything. He dropped and rolled, and he covered himself with dirt. He did everything he could, but he couldn't put himself out. He said, you know, a man is at the end when you hear him cry for his God and his mother. He said, I did both. And then I asked the Lord, how long will it take for me to die? And he surrendered. The opposite of Marcus Luttrell never quit. He surrendered. But he surrendered to God. So it is the same thing. He did not surrender to a man. He surrendered to God, and it changed his life. The next one is, and everything from this man is extraordinarily hard to get. This actually had to borrow back from Marcus. This was going to be my Christmas present to Marcus Luttrell, the Audie Murphy. And I called the guy who had it, and he said, "Oh, I won't sell it to you." And I said, I'm willing to pay top dollar. He said, "You can't find anything from Audie Murphy anymore." Audie Murphy was the most decorated man in American history. And it's just a simple signature. And I said, "Okay, is there anything?" And he said, "No, Glenn, you're not going to find anything from Audie Murphy." And I said, "Okay, I need to find something else. It's for Marcus Luttrell." And the man said, "I'm wrapping it up when I hang up the phone, and I'm not going to charge you." And he said, I'm not allowed to tell Marcus that it came from him, which I broke that promise immediately. That one was worth breaking. But Audie Murphy was not just amazing for what he did in battle. Audie Murphy never changed when he came back. In fact, we most likely only know about Audie Murphy as a movie actor because Audie Murphy was found in a YMCA where he was living, and another soldier happened to walk by him and said, "Dear Lord, you're Audie Murphy, aren't you?" And he said, "Yes, sir, I am." He said, what are you doing here?" He said, "Well, I can't find a job, and I'm living in the YMCA." Squared his shoulders, and that was fine with him. A humble, gracious man who never compromised, even if it meant you're living at the YMCA. The next one is from a man that I was I have a hard time meeting some of our soldiers. Because of what they sacrifice and what they do. And I couldn't do it myself. And I stood next to this man. And inside, all I wanted to say was, "Thank you." But I felt pretty small next to him. And I didn't. And a year ago today, Chris Kyle was killed. This is Chris Kyle's helmet. Then another piece from Eisenhower. Eisenhower was another brave man. I think, for one, he may have given us one of the last real honest speeches any president has ever given. Eisenhower is the one who said the military-industrial complex. We all make fun of those conspiracy theorists, but it was Eisenhower, a general, who said, "Warning, warning. We are changing our society, and unless this population remains rooted in everything that is good and right, and unless you remain vigilant, the military-industrial complex will overrun us." It wasn't a conspiracy. It was the President of the United States, a former general, that warned us. But that's not the piece I brought. The piece I brought, this is actually signed by him in the White House. This is the joint resolution that put "under God" in the Pledge of Allegiance. Because Eisenhower knew we're fighting communists, and communists are godless. What makes us different? Who are we to say our system is better than theirs? God. God. And if we forget God, we're done. And one more piece. This is, boy, I tell you, this one, the letter, yeah. This one, this one practically came in an armored truck. It's a letter from Davy Crockett. And it says, I have almost given up. The ship is lost. So far as to declare that if Martin Van Buren is elected, I'll leave the United States because I will never live under his kingdom. Before I will submit to his government, I'll go to the wilds of Texas. I will consider that government a paradise compared to what his government will be. In fact, at this time, our Republican government has dwindled almost to insignificancy. Our boasted land of liberty has almost bowed to the yoke of bondage. Our happy days of Republican principles are near an end, when it is few to transfer the many. These principles, with the Van Buren principles, there are more slaves in New York and Pennsylvania than there are in Virginia and South Carolina, and they are the meanest kind of slaves because they are volunteer slaves. These men all drew a line in the sand. One way or another, they all drew a line in the sand and said, I will go no further. This is it. I will not surrender unless it's to God. These principles, what makes a man do that? It's not pay. It's not fame. It's not fortune. They're principles, self-evident truths. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among these life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is a breathtaking phrase.